Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast. And here's your host, John Chapman.
What is going on, faithful? It is absolutely incredible to be with you on this 49ers game day. I'm so excited. Yeah, we're going to talk some Niners, of course, because we got a lot of stuff going on tonight. But this is our time once a week where I got the handsome devil next to me himself, Mr. Brian McFadden with Legit Football, where we're going to be dissecting, again, the broader view, as well as Niners content, the broader view of the NFC West. Brian, how are you doing today, my friend?
Oh, John, I couldn't be better. I could be better if it was regular season football tonight, but preseason football, I'll take it. Every single day brings us one step closer to real, live, tangible football. I am pumped for the 2022 season.
Oh, it's so close, and we're just getting closer and closer and closer, and I freaking love it. Preseason's here. 49ers are playing, and what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be assessing, almost like a progress report, who's having the best and who is having the worst preseason out of the NFC West, as we constantly just gauge where these things fit. Because, again, the number one goal for every single team in the NFL, win your division. That is what it's about. So, Brian, let's start with you, my friend. How do we want to gauge this? How are we going to tackle this huge project?
Yeah, so the way I looked at it is this is not a power rankings. This is not a roster dissection. We've done those in past episodes. This is more about with going into the preseason, where they stand now. Are things looking a little better? Are they looking? It's almost like a progress report, like you said, John. So we want to kind of take a look at each of the four teams in the NFC West and judge how their training camp and preseason has gone up until this point. Obviously, there's one more game left for everybody this weekend. So that's kind of where this exercise comes from.
I like it. I like it. So we've started every single time with the bottom dwellers, the bird that doesn't even exist, the Seattle Seahawks. It's not even a real bird. Let's start with them. Man, we got to start with this quote from Pete Carroll. Am I right? Am I wrong? He was asked about his quarterbacks and, who's going to be started. And he said that they have the problem of having two number one quarterbacks.
Oh. If you have two quarterbacks, you have zero quarterbacks. I mean,
yeah.
That's the old adage.
Oh, my God.
I don't think either of these are number one quarterbacks. I think that is purely a result of the decisions that Seattle has made, obviously, with regards to Russell Wilson and not bringing on a veteran yet. But, yeah, I think that doesn't bode well for anybody. I think the fact that Geno Smith, who's already been in this offense, I get why they've said he's the first. Drew Lock has shown flashes, but he's so inconsistent, and now Pete Carroll's boasting about having two quarterbacks, and that's a good thing? No, it's like everything is so rosy to him, but it's usually a little delusional in this case.
Yeah, I think it is, man. That gum's getting to his brain. He needs to breathe a little bit between chomps. Now, okay, so let's walk through their preseason kind of training camp, all those things, some positives and some negatives so that we can get to know this team.
That's actually what I was going to say. What I did to really break down my mental rankings for these is I had a section for good and a section for bad. It's a little bit black and white. There's a lot of gray in the middle, but I just felt for this kind of exercise for the Niners faithful that watch and listen that this made the most sense. So let's start off with the positive. I'm a positive guy. I want to start off with the good. So some of the goods that have come out of Seattle so far, their rookie O-line honestly has performed well. So you've got Cross in the first round, Lucas in the third round. They're not studs yet, but that was such a huge question mark. These are guys which you pretty much were drafting to be starters. They're already showing signs of, at least compared to some of the other rookie O-linemen in the league, they're performing well. That's a good sign for Seattle. The fact that DK Metcalf signed, that's a good sign. There were a lot of rumors. Well, he ended up getting traded. They obviously got rid of Russell, so there's already a precedent of getting rid of these star players. So the fact that DK Metcalf re-signed is a positive. And then really maybe the biggest positive is Kobe Bryant, the rookie defensive back who has been the runaway superstar in camp so far for Seattle. He's starting to get time with the ones. It could be a situation where he starts off as their third cornerback and inserts himself as maybe one of those top two during the season. So those are the positives. Those are what Seattle can kind of walk away and say, okay, we're happy with those developments. Do you want to throw in your goods and we can kind of get to the bads?
Man, I don't know. No news is kind of good news for Seattle.
Yeah.
Especially if you look at the division, right? You've got the whole Jimmy G, Trey Lance thing and, the Debo thing that was going on. Arizona's just a cluster curse word.
Know what? Yep.
And then you've got, the Rams who have suffered some injuries. We'll get to that. The Matt Stafford thing, just staying out of the spotlight, which Seattle's going to be doing for the next decade. I think it's important for them just to kind of just get through it, not hit the headlines. You don't want to be involved there. Just kind of get through it. Now, didn't Kenneth Walker, he suffered a little bit of a setback, didn't he, injury-wise?
Well, so here's what it is. We talked, I think it was last week, about this hernia that he had. Not a sports hernia, just a hernia. He had a procedure. A lot of the initial, we're talking about rosy talk from Pete Carroll, was that he was going to be ready for week 1. But now Carroll is a little bit more ambiguous with that. And because Carroll generally gives rosy reviews of these kind of things, the fact that he's not being rosy is that's a red flag to me, saying that in my interpretation, Walker's now not looking or not trending to being ready for the start of the season. So you've got Rashad Penny actually was just diagnosed with COVID today. So I actually had that in the...
Really? Rashad Penny was?
Yes, Rashad Penny was earlier today. My initial notes when I prepped for the show, I didn't have it in there. And then I saw earlier today that he got diagnosed with COVID. This was probably like an hour ago, John. So I had to put that into the bad section. So now you're looking at like Travis Homer and DJ Dallas in that backfield for week 1.
What year is it? How many times have we seen those two guys being in there? The consistency's good, but again, it's trouble. So, the Seahawks, they play the Cowboys. We can hope the stadium implodes Friday at 5 p.m. So if you want to catch that, I don't know, you want to catch the shadow of what the Seahawks are and what the Cowboys are, they're going through a rough thing as well. Just lost their left tackle, probably the best player on their offense, not named Dak Prescott, all the way till December.
Huge. That's huge.
Cowboys might not make the playoffs.
That's the NFC East, but that is, I cannot understate. That was actually the top story in Legit Football today. The fact that he is out until December at the earliest, and he is a cornerstone. He is a 2-time All-Pro. This isn't like, oh yeah, he's a league average tackle. He is when he's healthy, one of the top 5 tackles in the entire National Football League. You already lost La'el Collins. You already lost Connor Williams. You not even talking about the skill players
of their offensive line.
Yes, exactly. Which was a strength for Dallas in the past. Now is a big question mark on top of the question marks they have in the wide receiver room. I had Dallas, I think, as that number 6 or number 7 seed, but now you have to start to wonder if they can even hit that.
No, I don't like it. I don't like it. All right. So the Seahawks. Any other notes that we need to know about with this team moving forward?
No, we've covered them. So in a bullet point form, the bad I have was QB play. We already hit that. The fact that you're at this stage, you still don't know who your quarterback is. You say you have 2 quarterbacks, and neither one has played particularly well consistently in the preseason.
It's going to be Geno Smith week 1, right?
It has to, unless the whole Locke getting COVID really pushed him back. So unless Locke, who is not starting the preseason game, Geno's going to start, but Locke is probably going to get more playing time. Unless he just absolutely balls out, I think we see Geno Smith in week 1 against the Broncos.
Yeah, I think you're right. Any other bullet points? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's all the bullet points, because we talked about Walker. We talked about, Pete Carroll got COVID. Like, that's a negative. I kind of put that simply because if you're away from the team, when you only have an X amount of practices and camp to get ready, that, to me, I put in the negative column.
I give Pete Carroll a lot of, I make fun of him a lot. He's a hell of a coach. He's a great coach.
Oh, he's a fantastic coach.
Yeah, amazing coach. I don't like him, but he's a great coach.
I mean, this is a guy who's won a Super Bowl, got to another, consistently winning record, consistently outperforms the talent. We're not judging him over the course of his career. I just think he's on kind of the twilight of his career, and I think we could be looking at maybe the end of the Carroll era. But here's the spicy
coach in the league.
Here's the spicy thing here with regards to this exercise. So they are 0-2. They're the only team in the NFC West that is 0-2. But they are not last in my preseason rankings. For this exercise, they are 3rd. So that's what when I went and balanced the good and the bad from all 4 of these teams. Once again, guys, this is not a roster evaluation. I think Seattle is right there at 30, 31, 32. I wanted to take this exercise to judge how the overall preseason went. without any preconceived notions of how good or bad the team is for the regular season. I'm just judging the training camp and the preseason, and I have Seattle ranked third, not fourth.
So, okay, interesting. I love this comment from Jacob. He says, if the Seahawks get Jimmy G, which probably more and more likely as the days pass, they won't be that bad, and they still won't be that good either, right? The bottom feeder, middle pack area. If we look at just what they did last year, they went 7-10. That was with Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them winning, maybe 7 games with Jimmy Garoppolo, but kind of in that 5 to 7 range. I think Jimmy Garoppolo makes a difference of 2 wins. Yeah. So if you got Geno and you got Locke, I'm looking at like a 5-12. If you get Jimmy in there, maybe 7-10,
6 to 7.
Yeah, I don't like that. Melissa, thoughts on the footage of Pete Carroll throwing the ball? I thought that was pretty funny, man. I thought that was pretty funny.
It honestly, I mean, to me, I was a little embarrassed on his behalf. Like, you're not at a stage. It didn't look good. It was a bad look in my eyes. He doesn't look, as the guy who's dropping back to make that pass. It was cringeworthy, John. And
yeah, but impressive. I mean, I'll give it to him.
Good for him.
He's got a little wiggle on those hips. Congrats there. And yeah, Joe, I don't want to root against Jimmy either. I really want success and happiness. I want to watch Jimmy G be successful in the AFC. I want to watch Jimmy Garoppolo be successful somewhere else. He's playing on the Seahawks. I'm going to root against him every damn play. Every damn play.
I still think your idea about him going to the Browns is not dead in the water. Just throwing that out there. If he's a free agent, he will get to choose where he goes. He might like the idea of going to a more competitive roster in Cleveland than staying in his division. He doesn't strike me as the revenge guy, so I don't think he's trying to get back at Shanahan and Lynch. It's almost like, well, you're kind of the rest of that roster in Cleveland. It's decently loaded, especially on the defensive side of the ball with that great run game and offensive line. Jimmy might end up choosing Cleveland. So, guys, let's not forget that the Browns are not ruled out as an option.
And couple just kind of misnomers that I continue to see on other podcasts, on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever else. Here's the deal. Jimmy Garoppolo's salary is not guaranteed August 30th. Okay, so he could still be on the 49ers roster August 30th and the 49ers pay him nothing. Mm-hmm. It's not until the day before, because he's a vet with more than 4 years experience, his roster, his cap situation, all that's not guaranteed until the day before the first game, which is September 10th, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time. So he can make the initial cuts, make the 53, still be on the team, and then get cut the day before, and the 49ers owe him nothing more. So
the disadvantage there being more of a roster spot as opposed to financial. Yeah.
Which is going to be one of those stud undrafted free agents, Quantrez Knight, maybe Jordan Mason. There's lots of different stuff there. But anyway, I digress. So, all right, here we go. Let's transition. I don't want to talk about Seattle no more. Let's go to the Cardinals. How has their training camp? It seems like it's just a mess from the outside.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, go ahead and jump to the punchline here. They are who I have ranked as the 4th team with regards to ranking their preseason, because when I was doing the good and bad section, I really only found 2 good things and a whole mess of bad things. So that's why when I went into this exercise, I'm like, I got to put Seattle ahead. Not saying Seattle's had an amazing, watch out for them preseason, but just almost because Arizona has been so bad. We'll start with the positives. Hudson returned. That's the fact that he didn't retire. Like, this is what I was stretching for here, John.
The center.
These are the breadcrumbs I was reaching for here for positives. And Eno Benjamin has actually had a really strong camp, really taking a lock on that number 2 running back position, which I think is actually more important than people think, because James Conner has never, ever played a full season. Even last year, did not play every single game. And I think last year, a lot of his, from a fantasy perspective, production came from his touchdown ability, which is going to naturally regress. Kingsbury's had a lot of good things to say about Benjamin. I think we're going to see more involvement from Eno Benjamin, especially maybe in the pass game. I liked him. I was pretty happy with his film out of Arizona State. He just never seems to have caught on since he's been in the league, but we'll see. Maybe this year. Like I said, I was stretching to find positives here with Arizona. So we have no choice but to go over to the negatives. So we know the big negatives. We'll start with there first. Obviously, the DeAndre Hopkins suspension, the fact that he's going to miss the first 6 games of the year. And also, as a result, he's not getting as much time. Not that he needs it at this point in his career, but they're purposely monitoring and limiting his preseason work, his training camp work, because they know he's going to be out the first 6 games. When you have your star that's not out there, to me, that affects other players.
Yeah.
It affects rookies. It affects the whole mentality and the vibe.
That's when they crashed last year, remember? Like,
yes.
whenever he wasn't out there, that's when it went down. Now, Joe, I saw this comment. I'm thinking of doing the Cardinal road trip. Remember, this year, the Cardinals game is in Mexico. Mexico. So we're partying there in Mexico. So if you want to come join us, we got you at 49ersrushroadtrip.com. But there is no game in Glendale, Arizona this year for the 49ers. So just want to throw that out there. So if that's something you want to do, man, we want to party with you, but you got to go a little further south than just Arizona.
Another Zachary Couch mentioned in the comments my next point, in that they traded for Hollywood Brown, but then he had an injury issue right away and then decided that he likes to go really fast on the freeway, which is a criminal offense in Arizona. So he only recently, I think as of last week, actually started practicing together with Kyler Murray. So yes, I know they have that history at Oklahoma, but still, you've got to kind of get up to speed with Kingsbury's version of this kind of air raid offense that maybe he was used to at Oklahoma. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there. He has to jump in and immediately be the guy with Hopkins out. So I just don't like that he got such a late start, that he's had already a little bit of an injury to deal with, and he had that criminal issues. And then let's get to Kyler himself. He had COVID. That knocked him out for a while. No preseason game footage, or game action, which is true for most of these starters. The Rams won the Super Bowl last year doing that, so I don't necessarily knock that as a bad thing. But the whole distraction around his contract, the whole has to have 4 out. That just became a huge distraction of him having this very strange clause, which basically told him you can't play video games and you have to do 4 hours of film study. Like, the fact that was written in, even though they took it out, and even if it might not have been a big deal to them, from a public perception and from a distraction standpoint, that just was yet another knock on what the Cardinals have had to deal with. And then let's just get to the tangible things beyond all that. They've been dealing with a banged-up O-line. There's a reason that they recently just traded with the Bills for Cody Ford.
I thought that was an amazing trade. I saw it and I got mad because the Cardinals almost always make very bad decisions. That was a great trade. That was a great trade from them. And I was just like, man.
Former teammate of, he was from Oklahoma, so a teammate of Murray and Brown. But it was I agree, 100% agree. I love the move, but the fact that they made the move is because a lot of their O-line has been dealing with injuries, not necessarily major injuries, but they've just been kind of banged up. So it's just been one thing out, and you know how I feel about Kingsbury in general. There hasn't been a lot, and I was digging to find a lot of bright spots. And I think when we did our training camp nuggets, I was like mentioning like 5th round linebackers who had a few tackles, and that's all I could find. I didn't have a lot of stuff to get excited about if I'm a Cardinals fan, and that's why I ranked them last.
No, I think that's well said. Yeah, and I don't know, man. It's a clown show over there, and things are just getting worse. Do they have some studs? Yes, they do. They have some great personnel. I think Budda Baker is incredible, and I'm with you, Melissa. The Kittle versus Budda Baker's always, just top shelf, incredible content. We'll just have to see what that looks like. It's just that team, man. I don't know. I don't like it. They are playing this week, as every team is. They're playing against the Titans Saturday at 4 p.m. So if you want to watch the Cardinals game and kind of see what's going on there, Cardinals-Titans Saturday, 4 p.m. Now, I do have to give a little quick update for tonight. The 49ers do play the Texans, which is awesome. It's also little Chapman's high school football game. So I'm going to be doing double duty in the stands. Brian's seen me with my clipboards and my notes and all that stuff. So I'll be watching my son. I would be watching the Niners game on my phone and taking notes. And the reason why I bring that up is the post-game show today might be a little delayed. So, I got to pick up the kiddo once he's done, all that kind of stuff, get him home. Then I'll be going live. So his game starts before the Niners, so it should be done. But just in case, just want to let you know, don't worry. We're going to have all of our post-game show. Just might be a little bit delayed. And the film and all that stuff, we're going to get all that going too. So anyway, sorry about that.
I've seen this guy in action. He's a machine. You guys all know that's why you're following him. He'll get it out there. Give him a few extra minutes to watch his kid. I want to mention one more thing, and I actually want to get your thoughts on this, John, with regards to Arizona. I put out a poll. So we do daily NFL polls with Legit Football, Monday through Friday, usually a topic that has to do with what we put in the newsletter for that day. And yesterday, ESPN put out a power rankings, but they tied in players and coaches who were on the hot seat. And there were 5 coaches in ESPN's article listed as on the hot seat, and Cliff Kingsbury was one of them. So naturally, as a poll, I put out on Twitter, who is the most likely to get fired? And you only have 4 choices on Twitter. One of them has to be others so people can fill it in. So I put the 3 of the 5 from ESPN's list. I put Mike McCarthy, Matt Rule, and Cliff Kingsbury. And I got a lot of comments about, oh, Kingsbury just signed an extension and yada, yada. And yes, that is true. And it was a 5-year extension. He's already got 1 more year, so he's technically there for 6 more years. But I wanted to, and I'm not really knowledgeable on Bidwell as an owner when it comes to the financial side of it. But I'm assuming these guys were Cardinals fans. They said, "Oh, Bidwell's cheap. Like even if it's not going well, they're not going to eat that contract." But this will be Kingsbury's 4th season. If he goes 8-9, he will have an under 500 record. He has played in 1 playoff game and he lost it miserably bad. Would Arizona actually keep Kingsbury? They just paid Kyler. Would they keep him if this year is yet another disappointment?
We saw him walk away from Josh Rosen 1 year after, drafting him in the top 15. And so they walked away from that one just hands-free. So I do think it's going to take a couple more years for the handsome head coach there, Kingsbury. But yeah, it's terrible. They shouldn't have extended him. I think he's by far one of the worst. But the people that you mentioned him with, I think Mike McCarthy's the worst coach in the NFL. And he's there because he's a yes man. They lost the playoff game because of terrible clock management. And then he gets up there and says, I stand by my decision. And it was like, dude, how, like, I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot of bad coaches in the NFL. Coaching matters. And you brought up 3 bad ones. Matt Rule, not a good coach. Definitely should not have been allowed to do anything with personnel. That caught him. But yeah, Kingsbury, I'd say a year or 2 max. And yeah, Bidwell, I'm good, man. I'm good. It's crazy. I'm happy with Jed. I really am. I'm happy with Jed York family. I know it started off rough, but they've given Kyle everything he needs to run his ship and just gotten out of the way. And I'm totally cool with that.
That's what ownership should do. Look at what the Patriots did. Kraft understood that he put the right people in charge, and then he stepped back. Jerry, for all his accolades in the early 90s and late 80s, has not had success for basically almost 20 years at this point. Yeah. I rest my case.
It was funny. I got an argument with a Cowboys fan, which is a daily occurrence with me being from Texas, about he posted bragging about how much money the Cowboys franchise is worth. And I was like, you understand that's not your money, right? And why are you happy with this? If you're making all that money and you have 2 playoff wins in a quarter of a century, why are you happy with that? This is not. What
else do they have to brag about these days, John? My franchise is worth $9 billion. I don't have a dollar of that. But
the Niners, I think, came in 4th as far as most valued franchise. That doesn't go into my pocket.
No.
I want freaking Super Bowls. I want NFC championships. That's what I want. Not first round, wave high, and go home every single time.
I don't care if the Dolphins are worth $5. I want them to win a Super Bowl. I could care less personally unless they're giving me a chunk of that. I don't really care what they're worth, honestly.
Anyway, all right. Melissa's got a Niners question here real quick. Thoughts on Colton McKivitz or another offensive line to Tampa or Dallas that may not make the 53? So one, Colton McKivitz making the 53. But if you're looking at somebody like Nick Sakill, Justin School, I have those guys on the outs right now. I think those type of players, perhaps maybe even Jordan Mills. But yeah, they do run a different scheme. I will say that. They do run a much different scheme. So a lot of the 49ers undersized guys wouldn't really fit too well there, offensive line-wise. So just a little bit different. What's up, Sin? Glad to see Sin. And speaking of, Sunday, we have our Zoom hangout, Sunday, 4:30. That is our big episode that we do every year where we predict our 53-man roster and we go through cuts position by position. We argue, everybody stakes their claim for their guys like we're a coaching staff, and then we kind of resolve everything at the end. So that's Sunday, 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. And that's Jerry Rice tier, Bill Walsh tier only on Patreon. Trust me, you're going to want to be there for that. All right. Now, let's move on. Let's do the Rams, and then we'll jump into the Niners if you're cool with that.
Absolutely. I figured that was the way we were going to go. So, leave San Francisco for last. All right, so let's start with some of the good things for the Rams. I got to start with Allen Robinson. He has just been. I think he's in for a gigantic season. I think the fact that he's never had a guy like Kupp across from him, and he's certainly never had a quarterback like Stafford. I think the talent has always been there. He has shined on bad teams with bad quarterbacks. Imagine him getting in a McVay offense with Cooper Kupp to take away coverage and Matthew Stafford throwing to him. I just think, and all the reports have been shining out of camp, he's going to be an issue when you guys play them. Just be prepared for that. And the next one is this rookie out of nowhere, Lance Mccutchen. I had to mention him. He's got 10 catches for 183 yards and 2 touchdowns in 2 preseason games. This guy is the definition of playing your way onto the roster from virtually unknown to a lock, I think, at this point to make the 53. The next one is interesting because it's on my good list and my bad list, and that's Cam Akers. So Cam Akers, during the preseason, during the training camp, all reports that he's looked very good, healthy, explosive, old Cam Akers, not like the end of the last year when he came in for those few games, Cam Akers. But I'll go ahead and mention the bad version of him is he also is recently dealing with a soft tissue injury. So it's like that's kind of the thing. Darrell Henderson, almost the same thing. You got a lot of reports throughout the early camp that he looked great. And then he's also dealing with a soft tissue injury. So it's a little bit of a good, a little bit of a bad. And my last positive that I only recently unearthed, and that's they have a rookie cornerback, Kobe Durant. I believe he's a 5th or 6th rounder who made the top 15 Pro Football Focus rookie preseason list where they're grading these players. And there isn't a rookie from the Niners who's on this list too. We'll get to them. But he's on my radar. So if they can get some extra depth behind, in the secondary for the Rams, behind Ramsey, I think that's only can benefit them.
Yeah, I don't know. I think one of the things that I really like about this show, Brian, whenever you're on, is I'm so Niner centric and we get these hamstring issues and we get all these things. But whenever you stop and look around, they happen to every damn team.
Yep.
Football, there's injuries. That's just all there is. You get these huge old bodies that are so damn fast and they run around and hit each other. It just happens. And so, look, even the Rams, who have had the best injury luck in the world the past 5 years, they're dealing with it as well. And they lost one of their linemen.
Yes, that's on my bad list.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to jump ahead. I got a little excited. I got a little excited.
So
Not excited that he's injured. Not excited that he's injured.
No,
excited
energetic. You got the energy. You go with the
There we
flow.
go.
So let's go ahead and jump over to the bad stuff for the Rams this preseason. And it's almost entirely on the injury side of it. So we mentioned Akers, we mentioned Henderson, the Stafford elbow thing, which is seeming to be less of an issue, but that at least affected them at one point during the preseason. Van Jefferson having to have knee surgery, although it looks like he's actually still trending to be ready for week 1. Once again, he's lost some of that valuable time in the preseason. Their biggest loss, though, just happened. Their top draft pick, it was the 3rd round, but their top draft pick from this 2022 draft, Logan Bruss out of Wisconsin, is done for the season. And that's very important because I think one of their biggest issues, and quite frankly, the Rams don't have a lot of issues. They just won the Super Bowl. They brought back almost everyone. One of their biggest issues is O-line depth. I think we've actually mentioned it on this show before. And so to lose a guy that they were hoping to be an early contributor like Logan Bruss, that just makes that question even bigger. And if there's one thing that could come back to bite them, it is that offensive line depth if they end up, having another injury or having some of their younger players not perform to where they need them to be.
Yeah, they're down 2 starters from last year.
Right.
And then their number 1 backup just got lost too. Basically their Daniel Brunskill. And so, I mean, that's big there. So we'll have to see what happens. I mean, somebody's going to step up for sure, but injuries are real. And, for a team that hasn't had any, it's going to catch up with you eventually.
And
that's
with the Rams in particular, because of the way their roster is constructed, it's very much about as top heavy, if not the most top heavy roster in the entire NFL. It just won them a Super Bowl, so clearly it can be effective when healthy. But if they start to lose any depth pieces at all, or especially if they lose a starter that they're going to count on, that can actually have maybe an outsized effect on how successful the Rams are this year.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to be a playoff team. They've had a winning record every single year that McVay's been there. One year they didn't make it, but this roster is too talented with even though it's super top heavy, they're going to make it. They're going to make that.
100% agree. The question is not whether they make the playoffs. The question, and this is where the Niners comes in, is who wins the NFC West. And these kind of things, this could make the difference. I think when we did our predictions, I personally had the Rams at 11-5 and the 11-6 and the 49ers at 10-7. So I had them one game apart. These are the small things that can flip-flop that and give the Niners the division, which not only gets them in the playoffs, but gives them an easier road playing at least one home game. All these little things count.
Yeah, well said. Well said. And Steven says the NFC conference is much weaker this year. Yeah, I did a whole episode where I charted like the amount of starts and Pro Bowlers that left the NFC to the AFC. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
It was absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, if you just look in the NFC, I mean, Niners have lost guys, DJ Jones, Laken Tomlinson, but man, Von Miller, Chandler Jones, like Russell Wilson, good gosh, that's just off the top of my head. That's a lot of stars that are gone to the other side, which I'm okay with it. I don't like the Niners guys leaving, but man, the fact that Russell Wilson's gone, that impacts the 49ers more than any other player leaving, and Von Miller as well. That's huge as well. So, all right, let's transition now. Let's go Niners. I'm a little hesitant.
By the way, notice I didn't rank the Rams yet. I'm not going to rank the Rams or the Niners until we finish the 49ers recap, and then I'll give my reveal.
Real quick, man. I want to say thank you, Shot J. One, just awesome dude, always monitoring the chat, helping things out. He says, if we get 75 likes, let's give out a shirt. Otherwise, beer money for Senior Chapman. Yeah, we got to do that, man. Let's see where the likes are in the broadcast feed I'm in. I can't really see it right now, so y'all got to update me. But yeah, let's do that. If we get 75 likes, we will do a t-shirt, which if you want a t-shirt, you can kind of see it in the description of this video. We've got our 49ers Rush tee. I was drafted by the 49ers. All I got was this Rush t-shirt. So if you're on YouTube, just scroll down past the description. You'll see the t-shirts available there. But yeah, we'll get you a t-shirt out once we hit 75 likes. I like it, Shot J. I like it. Give us something to shoot for. All right, so here we go, Brian. We're not ranking the Rams yet. Right. Because we're going to have a big reveal. I'm a little hesitant. I'm a little scared. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little excited. Walk us through your opinion of the Niners' pros and cons of the preseason so far.
So we're going to start with the big one I'm going to save. And you guys know who the big one is. He's number 5. So I will say Ayuk. You know, from everything that I'm seeing, Ayuk is absolutely a good and has been – I had my questions in the OTA. So yeah, we saw that he was hanging out with Lance in the set, but we've now seen that. We've seen training camp. We've seen that Ayuk is a preferred target. I actually put up a poll today. All you Niners fans, go check out @_legitfootball on Twitter. I have a poll today saying who is going to be the number 1 receiver, Debo or Ayuk. It's a 49ers poll today. So if you haven't already voted, go over there and vote. But that question came from the fact that I keep seeing more about Ayuk and how he is really coming on, and the nice words that Shanahan's saying about him, which might even be more important. Ayuk's talent was never the question. It's that I think I saw a quote, and John, you would know better than me, where Shanahan might have said that last year Ayuk came in a little overconfident, a little bit cocky with his position and his status with the way he ended his rookie year, and that's why you didn't see him in the first half. Second half, he comes up, he actually ends up outperforming Debo, mainly because Debo was used as a running back and had a little bit of injury issues at the end of the season. But Ayuk has kind of started this camp like he ended last season, and that bodes very well for the Niners and for fantasy if you're looking for tidbits. So Ayuk is definitely in my positives. Feel free to stop me. You're going to have more intake on this Niner stuff on any of this.
I love it. This is wonderful because I'm curious because what you know, they know, right? And so I'm curious to see what the outside perception is. You know, everything we do is we focus in out. It's nice to hear the way the general public kind of sees the information that's out there, the ones that don't watch all the press conferences and practices and games and all that. So this is awesome. I'm eating this up.
I'm seeing a lot of positive Ayuk stuff, and it's been consistent. It's one thing when I'm looking at training camp nuggets, I don't want to just focus on a single one because some guy can have a great practice and then never do anything again. I am seeing consistently positive reports. The last report I saw, I think it was from a San Francisco Chronicle reporter, said that the practice started the way the entire camp has gone, 3 straight receptions to Ayuk. Like, that tells me they are locked in. He is zeroed in with Lance, so I have that as a positive. Just like DK re-signing, you guys kept Debo. That's a positive. You have one of the top wide receivers, the top weapons from the entire National Football League in 2021, staying as a 49er. That is absolutely a win. That goes in the good column. And then we have to get on the rookies here. I would say overall rookie class in the NFC West, I've been more impressed with the Niners than any of the other three teams. So you've got
Which
Drake
is
Jackson.
crazy because they didn't have a first-round pick.
Exactly. You've got Drake Jackson, who has had great reports. You've got Burford, your guard, who's had great reports. And the one I'm most excited about, the guy we really saw in the first preseason game together in person in Canton, Ohio, and that is Womack. He is actually tied for 5th on that list I mentioned, that PFF preseason list of rookies with a 91 grade. They grade every single, you guys can have your opinions about PFF, but at the very least, they look at every play, grade every play, and then come out with an overall rating based on the performance. And Womack is tied for 5th among all rookies. Offense, defense, doesn't matter for the first 2 preseason games. And the fact that he's, from what I'm reading, John, already looking like he's going to be slated in to start in that nickel corner position as a rookie. And I think he's a 5th round pick, correct?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you can get these rookies to hit on a team that's already as stacked as the Niners. That is a huge in the good column for me.
It's been weird. You know, roster cuts are always hard, and every single team has to let go of people they don't want to. But man, there's even been some undrafted free agents that have just flashing. Running back Jordan Mason, Quantrez Knight, who's a corner / safety, Tanner Hudson, who's Tyler Hawkins. I don't know why I keep messing up those names. The TH, Tyler Hawkins, incredible job. Jason Poe. There's 4 legitimate undrafted free agents that could make this roster, and it's one of the deepest rosters in the NFL already. So this rookie class, they've done very, very well by getting some immediate talent. Last year's rookie class, none. It was just Elijah Mitchell. Nobody else did anything. So it's going to be an interesting thing. The depth that the Niners have this year, I think it's exciting. I'm very excited about it.
It should be as a objective observer. I may live in the Bay Area, but I am not a Niners fan. I'm a Dolphins fan and a fan of the entire NFL, who covers the entire NFL. You guys have every reason to be excited. The Niners are one of those teams I would put in the top 4 or 5 of the entire league that have a shot at the Super Bowl. There's probably 10 teams who could be there, but I'm putting the Niners in the top 5 if everything goes right with your quarterback. So let's go to the last positive, and that is Trey Lance. Specifically, there's been some inconsistencies. We'll get to that in a second. But how he played in that first preseason game that I watched with you against the Packers, if that is how he looks in the regular season, and I know it's the preseason, take it with a grain of salt, but that offense was humming. I believe it was a perfect passer rating. He hit the deep ball. He was spreading the ball around. He just looked comfortable. Maybe more important than anything else is he looked more comfortable running that offense. If he's able to translate that, you guys should have Super Bowl aspirations.
I'm excited, man. Tonight's going to be fun. Tonight's going to be a lot of fun. Now, and I'll say this. Every single team in the NFL right now has hope. If you've watched like Hard Knocks and things, the Lions think they're going to be good. They're not. I know Brian thinks they're going to be.
Yeah. They're going to be better. I didn't say they're going to be better.
They're going to be better.
Yeah.
Like, and hope is a good thing. It really, really is. But the 49ers have a big reason to be hopeful. You know, we talked about the depth. The 49ers have already had 3 players claimed. 3. We are not even to roster cutdowns yet. Keyshawn Johnson claimed by the Falcons. Josh Hawkett claimed by the Cardinals, who was released later that week. So he's a practice squad candidate for the 49ers. And then Tanner Hudson goes to the Giants. Like, who the heck? Nobody else has 3 players claimed so far in the NFL, just the 49ers. It's a testament to how deep this roster is. Plus, it has the stars. The top 20 of, NFL 100, the top, we got 2 players in the top 20. We got Kittle at 24. We've got, or 22. Like, it's unbelievable the balance that has been built on this roster. So I'm excited to see it tonight, as we're going to get to see the Texans versus the Niners. Starters are going to play on both sides. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. I'm excited about this. Now, before we jump out of here, Brian,
haven't done the bad yet.
Oh, there's no bad. There's bad? No, there's bad.
Hey, you bring me in to be the objective. I had to both.
I thought we were leaving on a high note, man.
I got it. You bring me on the show. I got to bring all angles. So,
all right.
Injuries, you kind of already mentioned that. So, I mean, and there hasn't been any total catastrophic injuries the way I see it. Jimmy Ward is probably the most impactful. You can probably even update me on how long he's going to miss, but it looks like he's already going to miss the start of the season. They just signed, who was it, Gibson as a safety to kind of get some additional safety. Tayshaun Gibson. But you mentioned Ward. Elijah Mitchell has been banged up. Eric Armstead was banged up, I think, earlier in camp. Hurst, I think the defensive lineman, he might be out for the season.
Done.
Yeah, he's done. And then McGlinchey kind of like with an injury over last season kind of carrying over. So you have these kind of lingering injury issues, which, yes, every team deals with, but these are things I had to bring up. I have to put Jimmy G in the bad column. I have to put the fact that that's still not resolved. We're not, once again, not roster. We are judging the preseason. The fact that this Jimmy G has not been traded, the fact that he's off practicing off to the side, and stories coming out about he doesn't get the playbook and he disappears. Even though you might have already known that as Niners fans, the overall NFL doesn't necessarily know that. It's just not a good look. And then on the other side of it, from practice reports, the fact that Lance has had accuracy issues. He's been up and down. He looked phenomenal in that preseason game. If that's how it translates to the regular season, you're fine, but I have to show both angles. The fact that Lance at one point, we mentioned in Legit Football, he had like a 50% completion. He'll have one day where he's lights out and one day where he just has accuracy issues. Those are what I have in the bad column for the 49ers.
Dude, look at this. Balancing us out. Keeping us in check, my man, Brian. Now, you said you were going to let us know who had the best offseason, preseason so far between the Rams and Niners.
Correct.
Let us have it, my friend.
Now, it was very close. Pin needle close. And I'm going to give the edge to the 49ers. I've got San Francisco ranked first for a few reasons. One is they're undefeated. They're 2-0 in the preseason. I know that's not really what this exercise is about, but because I was trying to find a way to knock one over the other, Rams are 1-1, 49ers are 2-0. But perhaps more importantly is what they've done on the rookie side. The fact that they've hit on so many rookies on a team that you mentioned, John, is already one of the deepest in the NFL. That gives them a little bit of knock. And finally, how Lance looked in that preseason game that you and I watched together. Because that is the biggest question mark. Yes, the interior offensive line is... No, it comes down to Lance. Because if Lance can just be like middle of the road, you guys should be looking at minimum to get in the NFC Championship, if not farther.
Oh, I freaking love it, man. I love it. And also what I love is just the content that you put out on Legit Football. The emails are incredible. Head over freaking legitfootball.com. Sign up for your free. It's absolutely free. Just start your day off right every single day with the NFL. We're in the season, man. I'm so excited. Anything that you want to let us know as far as scheduling for your show, for your newsletter before we jump out of here, Brian?
Couple things. So for those of you who are doing fantasy football drafts, I am actually a guest panelist for Pro Football Reference fantasy football webinar. It's tonight at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. You can see it on my Twitter. I have a link on there to register for that. So it's me and one other guest. Apparently, I'm a fantasy football expert now. I will take it. So bring your questions. We're going to be answering fantasy questions. I'm really excited about that. And our next show, I have a show tomorrow, but next Tuesday, your boy, John Chapman, is joined 30 Minutes of Football. We're switching roles. I get to take over. We get to take turns asking questions. If you guys saw the last show I had with John, you kind of know how the format works. It'll be at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube. Just look for 30 Minutes of Football. John will be my guest. We'll talk Niners, but we're also going to talk the entire league. So make sure to check that out. And as always, legitfootball.com. Sign up for free.
I love it. Now, Shot J, we didn't hit our number of likes, but let's roll it forward. Let's do something for the post game. I don't want that beer just yet, my friend. I appreciate your generosity as always. But we'll figure something else out during the live show after the game tonight. So think about that. Let's get something going for that, Shot J. I want to give something away, but they got to earn it. So that's going to do it for us today, or for this morning. We got the game. And we got our post-game show coming up later. I want to say thank you to the man behind the scenes, Clayton, who kept everything running so smoothly. He is incredible as always. And our executive producers, James W. and 49ers George 365. You guys are awesome. And until next time, Niners got to play tonight, baby. I'm so excited. I'm all geeked up. Too much coffee. We're just going to keep rolling with it. But until next time, stay strong, faithful.